When I was 18 years old, I started my first real business. And it didn't happen really organically, it wasn't just one day I woke up and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start a business today. It kind of just fell into it. So I was in study hall and I was with this really smart kid in my class. He wasn't a good student. I wasn't a good student either. We just like kind of goofed around and played games when we were supposed to be studying. And I was talking to my friend and he said, Jason, how I make money is I flip sneakers. And I was like, you're crazy. There's no way you can make actual money flipping sneakers. And he's like, yeah, dude, it's real. And, we sat down, we just started talking. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm just looking for, I think it's really cool. And actually, how I found out about it is I was looking in the yearbook and he had like this full page in the yearbook where he basically just talked about him being like the sneakerhead that was flipping, 30 plus pairs of shoes. And I was like, man, that's awesome. Started asking him a bunch of questions. We just started talking. He's like, hey, man, I'm going up to this sneaker release and it up in Denver. Would you want to come? And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's do it. And, what I realized then is, I am a broke, high school student. And actually, this was before I was 18. This is when I was 16. But yeah, it was my first real experience. And then we're just going and we're talking. And I go and I basically go and say, hey, mom, I am going to buy a pair of shoes and I'm going to sell them. I was wondering if I could take a loan out for the shoes, and then when I sell them, I will give you back the money, right? And mom's like, you know what, just do it, whatever, right? So I did that, waited in line for like an entire night. It was a really sketchy part of downtown Denver. So, we basically we're sleeping and there was like gunshots and it was a crazy experience overall. But, I was sitting in this chair thinking about it and I was like, well, is this really what I want to do? Is this really what I'm passionate about? Or is this just something that I'm doing because I want to make money? And I kind of realized when I was sitting in that chair that, I kind of was just doing it to make money. I was like, I'm already up in Denver, what's the worst that can happen? We sit there and we're trying to get these two pairs of shoes and I buy them. I buy the pair of shoes and, I'm like, I think I can just sit on them for a little bit and sell them. I don't want to incur the risk. And I basically sold them to my friend for 190 bucks, made 20 bucks over about the course of 8 hours. But during that 8 hours, I learned a tremendous amount of valuable lessons about business. For one, how you sell things is important and matters, right? And that branding is important. You want to know how many people in that line that we were standing in were wearing an Adidas pair of sneakers for the Nike drop? Not a single one. Every single one of these people was wearing their best pairs of Jordans, and they were sitting in this line waiting for the next shoe. And it was a line of about 35 people when it was maybe like 16 degrees outside. That is branding. That is power. And I thought to myself when I was waiting in line for these sneakers, I'm like, man, branding is so freaking important and no one is talking about it. No one's trying to get on this branding grind and really trying to build brands. Most people are just going off of price entirely, right? So, I kind of started a business that was called shoepire.com where I was trying to do just that, where I would basically, people would be willing to pay more for a sneaker because they're buying it through me than they would even just buying it there. And that was my business model. Totally didn't pan out. I was completely wrong about where the attention lies there. And then I thought, I can start another business. And now was when I was like 16, 17. That was with the shoe pirate thing. I still was kind of hustling on that grind, when I graduated high school. And I still was like trying to get this thing up. And then I learned a lot about website development, website design. And I really was trying to create this platform that anyone that can come on and sell sneakers. That was the objective and the goal, that I was basically trying to create a platform for all these different sneakerheads and trying to be like that third person. But that market was very, very saturated with StockX and GOAT. And that was a really ambitious challenge that I couldn't handle the bandwidth and I, learned a lot from. But I still had this idea of branding being really important. And, when I was starting to figure that out, I was like, man, you know what? I need to create my own brand. I need to be that. I need to be the Nike instead of trying to resell the Nike shoes instead of trying to do that. Still, I think it's really fun. I enjoy flipping sneakers. I still run Shoe Pirate as a branch underneath my company, but it's not where I think the most amount of money and value that you can bring to your customer is. And that's what's really important. That's what I'm trying to get at with this whole entire talk. So then I started this business called 77 Apparel, where I did just that. I created a youth sports apparel brand, and I figured out all this website stuff. I built the website myself this time with the help of a buddy of mine from high school who was the salutatorian, which is second to the valedictorian. Shout out Nathan if you're listening to this. And he helped me build the website, and I worked my tail off, and I could not get sales. I could not get sales for the life of me. I DM'd and personal message probably about 400 youth football teams from probably Colorado to California, and I was keeping pressing, and I couldn't get that bite. And I had one person that did bite that I ended up losing because like I wasn't able to match the price that they were getting, and I wasn't able to combat that when I was trying to sell them equipment because they really wanted to see samples. I can't afford a sample. That's what's crazy. I couldn't afford a sample at that time because I'm just freaking hustling. I'm trying all this different shit, and I'm just hustling, and it didn't work out. But then I was like, man, when I was building this website for that second time, I realized how tedious it was to upload all these products, and you weren't really able to have the seamless transition. And I was like, man. And also when I'm hustling on the internet, my entire goal is just to get all this traffic to my site, and that's like most of my time. That's where almost all of my time is being spent. And then because I'm spending so much time on marketing, it's really hard for me to focus on product. It's really, really difficult for me to focus on making my thing the best when I have to think about website design and marketing and shipping and logistics and all these freaking bunch of different things about building a presence. And I was like, I wonder if there are other businesses that are running into the same problem. And now I enter college. You know, um, I enter college. I was an idiot. By the way, in high school, actually, I hate saying that I was an idiot. I wasn't built for school. I still remember that. I remember distinctly. I got in trouble in class because I was looking up sneaker prices in class while I was supposed to be paying attention to freaking. I think it was like this presentation on Al Capone, and I got in a bunch of trouble. And I still remember distinctly that my teacher said, "Jason, if you keep going down this path, you're not going to be able to get into college. You're not going to be able to do what you want to do, and you're not going to be successful." I do remember that distinctly. There was a very very clear line. I was not a good person to teach. I was definitely a class clown. But yeah, so when I was sitting there and I was entering college, I was basically put into this group of students that was all, a bunch of people that were on what's called conditional enrollment into a college. So those are the people with bad grades, a bad test score, that were kind of just the guys that barely snuck into college. And I was in that class. And then I really started to see where the divide between me and other guys that were bad at school, and guys and girls that were bad at school. And I don't want to take anything away from those guys or girls. They all have their own skills, but I started to realize it's like that. Everyone was so shy to speak up in class, and I was the only guy talking. Everyone was just always afraid of being picked on and called, and I just would send it. I would like every single question I always would answer. And then I was like, man, this trying to do all this stuff, even though I didn't succeed, it created this, confidence in myself. That failure and, people looking at you and thinking that you're weird, like that just wasn't a factor anymore. I used to be self-conscious, but then as I tried this business stuff, I really started to, kind of go on this path of really having this self-awareness of who I really am and who I want to be. And then I kind of went in and we took personality tests and a lot of this stuff. And man, that class was probably one of the best things that I did in college. Um, and it's really weird because it's like the story of Ocean Connection is really the story of me. And I hate that sounds super narcissistic, but it's really true because it's kind of like my little baby that definitely there's going to be people along the road that are really going to help push this thing forward. But this is really where it kind of like was conceived, right? So I was in this class and, we're talking about, you know, basically like you gotta go to this traditional path, right? And I remember I kept reading. I read a bunch of books. I kept doing all this stuff because I was like, I'm so far behind. I need to keep reading. So this was the summer, and I got into this class and we read this book that was really really good called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, which was on one of my all-time favorite books. And actually, one of my mentors told me to read that right before I went to college. So ironically enough, I read that book and I got it. And it's in. I still go through that thought process to this day. But what I started to realize is that there was this pull and this difference between me and other students that were kind of struggling in school. And then I kind of was starting to think about dropping out and it's dropping out and starting a company. I wasn't really sure what company yet because I just knew it's like, hey man, I'm flushing money down the toilet here. I can't sustain this. I can't afford this, opportunity cost of college, because I'm a freaking social being, and if a lot of the people I'm surrounding are not like chasing dope shit, it's really, really toxic for that environment for me to be in. So I started thinking about dropping out of college before I even kind of conceived the idea. And then in my entrepreneurship class that I took 3 classes only in college. I took econ, this GPS class, and business, which were the 3 classes that I just was interested in. I dropped my English class because I thought it was stupid, and another class that I thought was stupid. Right, so I was taking like freaking like 12 credit hours or something. I literally don't even think I was a full time student. But when I was going through all this stuff, I started to realize that there was a pull between me and even the best college students. Because in a lot of my entrepreneurship class, it was like, man, I know more. I don't want to sound cocky again, but I was like, holy fuck, I know more than my professors. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. Right. And it was in that class where I started to think about it. I'm like, holy, I think I might have an edge. I think I might be the most freaking competitive guy in this space. I think if I'm in business and I'm running against anyone else in this business program or anyone else here, I am by far the 1%. And if I keep surrounding myself with these people, I'm going to be losing. And then I had this idea for that brand based platform when I was sitting down and we had to pitch a company and we all sat down and we had 5 minutes to think of a business, right? So, we had one person that had one idea, one person had another idea. And then I pitched Ocean Connection. I pitched a brand based e commerce platform for small and local businesses, right? And and the thing is with that, I kind of messed it up. I didn't keep my pitch. I compromised on what I wanted and ended up losing. I think I got actually 7th place within my class in pitching this company. So not even like within, like, oh, out of all the businesses that were, pitched at UCCS, your business got 7th place in my class of I think 10 people, I got 7th. And that's on me. I could have done a lot better, but the thing is like we had like this panel of business people and they all really freaking liked my enthusiasm and my numbers and how I research the market, how I'm able to basically have these networks able to grow, right? And I was like, holy crap, I really like this idea. And I basically that was Ocean Connection. Actually, it started off as Drop and Shop as the name. And I was like, man, I really don't like the name. And the logo is going to be a pig. But then I had, I saw this picture of this globe and I like got really inspired and I was like, Ocean Connection. Because that's like something that I really think is a beautiful thing about business is that how it connects people. But yeah, I went through that and, I really sat in that and I sat in that company, and this was also a freaking massive shift in my life as well. I was going through a lot of crap. Um, because basically I dated this girl, it was like a girlfriend, for like the last 2 years of high school, pretty much. And we were really serious. We're going things. She actually went to the same college as me. And I broke up with her virtually at like this, same time. I broke up with her a little bit before my birthday. And man, dude, like that sucked, because even though that I was the one that like broke up with her, it still took a lot of, you know, like brain power in that and basically it would take a lot of my mental energy in terms of me thinking about like did I make a mistake, did I do this stuff, and I kind of just sat in that. And then I started off the next semester because I wasn't sure if I wanted to drop out yet. Um and I did the same thing I did last semester where I just took classes I wanted to take. And then I just realized this isn't for me. I realized I was sitting in this class and my professor didn't even know what Alphabet was, the company, which is, that's for any of you guys that don't know, that's the company that owns Google. And I was like, holy crap, I think I know more than my professor. And it was just like two of those moments together. And I was like, dude, I think that I might be becoming stupider if I stay in college. And then, you know, I basically, I did what you got to do. And I went and called my dad. I went and called my dad. I told him, hey dad. And he's like, hey, what's up? How's school going? I'm like, dad, I think I want to drop out. He's like, Jason, why do you want to drop out? I was like, I have this company idea. I know it might sound crazy. You might not get it, but I want to do it. I think I have something special here. I think that this is something over the next 50 or so years that's going to go up in value. And it's like, I think if I wait any longer, I'm going to lose. And my dad said, well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go read as many books as you can. I'm like, Dad, I read 50 books this summer. He's like, wait, really? And I listed off all the books. And also he gave me books. Like my dad's a really phenomenal, person I can talk to about business stuff. And it's one of the most something I completely take for granted. But yeah, I was talking with him, said I want to start this company. He was like, cool. And I went and sent it. Originally I just was like, okay, game plan. I literally remember I wrote it down on whiteboard. I'm like, boom, I want to raise $1 million, build an app, and then figure it out. Right. That was my plan. Because I was like, oh, I can just raise $1 million. It's not a big deal. And, I set out and I had a good buddy of mine that, we used to go party and do stupid stuff in high school. And I was like, oh man, this guy can pick up chicks pretty well. I'd probably be good in sales. And, pretty much I like talked to him a lot, and then we just kind of had a falling out, some creative differences with the company. And I was like, yeah, man, I can't really afford it. He's like, you know what, let's go our separate. So we went our separate ways, and that was kind of, that's that. And, pretty much I just, kept freaking hustling my little face off. I worked a insurance job to try to save some money. I ended up, quitting that job, before I even made any real money in my business, which is kind of crazy. And looking back is probably, if I'm giving advice, probably I'd say do the 4-hour work week strategy instead of quitting your job. Just figure out how to automate it, because I totally could have automated my job looking back. But yeah, I went through all of this stuff, man, and still it just didn't work for like a while. And it really took me talking and really processing through a lot of things in terms of vision and what I want, and talking to people that are a hell of a lot smarter than I am, to be like, hey, you should just, like, I remember sitting down with my friend Liam. Well, my friend Liam is a freaking genius, right? I also wrestled with him and the Salutatorian. They're all guys on my wrestling team. And that's Nathan. But I was talking with Liam, and Liam's like, basically walked me through this engineering thought process. And he's like, how can you get a small business from selling, from listening, like from being able to create a page to you getting money, and where you can't get automated out? And I was like, that's a really phenomenal exercise. And basically, instead of me trying to teach myself how to code an app, because that's what I was doing there during this time period, I just went and pretty much just built a website and did pretty much exactly what I did with 77 Apparel. And, basically I kind of corrected a lot of my mistakes. Obviously, I know how to do everything now. I know how to upload products. I know how to do all this stuff. And now I'm actually looking at making a really awesome website. And I'm basically applying these lessons I learned from Shoe Pirate and 77 Apparel, combining them and figuring out how can I make a phenomenal template for small businesses to be able to plug their products into. And then, that's that. And that's kind of where we're at now. It's me, I'm trying to get, sales. I'm just calling and talking to a bunch of small businesses and, just hustling. And, there's a lot of life changes during this time period as well. Now that I'm reflecting on, pretty much 2020 was a bitch. Like, it kind of screwed with me, to be honest. It was really, really hard, because, like, I had all these plans of strategies that I could implement, ways that I could do things. How can I go? I got kicked out of, I was pretty much and also during this time period, I'm just couch surfing pretty much. I'm hopping from, mom's house to grandpa's house to, friend's houses some nights. And, I kind of am a man without a home, for the most part. And I'm just like trying to work my little ass off, trying to make, this thing happen because I'm just really passionate about it. And, I think that being in this really vulnerable position to start a company, it makes you have to be really self-disciplined. And that's something that I do not take lightly. And I really think is my edge. I genuinely do, because it's like, man, I had a lot of opportunities to say no, I'll just do this thing, and I kept pushing forward. I kept pushing forward. I found ways to win. I found how can I talk to smart people. Also during college, I met probably one of my best friends, Sai, who I'm going to have on the podcast pretty soon. And we just kind of hit it off. We went to this Hack CU event when I technically was still admitted in college, but it wasn't really. I wasn't showing up to any classes, and I just dropped everything after I think a week. I think I went to one class and then I dropped the class my second semester. But yeah, it was hard. It was really hard, but I met Cy, and me and Cy are really really good buds, and that's who's going to basically accompany me on the Jason Across the Nation thing. Like, we're just going to hop in his Honda Pilot, and I'm going to go talk to small business owners, try to get meetings and get people on the podcast. My goal is to get a bunch of really powerful people and try to just have sit downs and try to be like, hey, how could I get some guys from Sequoia Capital, San Francisco? How can we get some venture capital dudes on the podcast? And how can I sit down and talk with them? Be like, hey, at our stage in our company, what should I do? What would be good strategies? What would you do if you were me? Would you fundraise? How would you fundraise? Right. And also, I do have to realize that they would have a bias against certain kinds of fundraising. They're probably friends of venture capital if they're venture capitalists, obviously. But it's a lot, man. This year kind of was really hard, like, and there's a certain amount of isolationism that happened. I guarantee that happened for almost everyone else, but there was just like going from seeing like your girlfriend like every week or whatever, to just being by yourself and having to focus. It's a really big shift, and honestly, well, it's fun sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of enjoy that company. I enjoy that kind of connection, and yeah, pun intended. But yeah, it was really really hard. Even though I had like 3 months or whatever to get over it. Basically, I kind of just sat depressed for a couple months, just being sad, feeling all sad about myself, going partying and doing whatever. That was really stupid. But the thing is, even when I was partying, I would still pitch my company. It was always at like the forefront of my mind, even if I was trying to distract from it. It's like this company for me is like you have a scratch, right? You have a scratch right at that center point in your back. And, you can try to do another thing to distract from it. But at the end of the day, the scratch is still there. And I know that I can't live having that scratch and not scratching it. And I think that's a really, really important part of starting a business or running a business. But yeah, that's the Ocean Connection story, for the most part. And, it was a really crazy time in my life. And, if everyone says, oh, you're a 19-year-old founder, you're not you either you're the next Mark Zuckerberg, or you're definitely fucking not the next Mark Zuckerberg. And I'm definitely not the next Mark Zuckerberg. As I, learn more about myself, as I'm the first Jason Alexander that's in business. And, that's how I, see myself, and that's how I'm going to be, you know? Yeah. And, I hope that, we can reflect on, my story and kind of see some of the mistakes I made. You know, be honest with yourself. Your good intentions or good opinions of a person aren't going to necessarily change that person's behaviors and integrities. And and you got to work hard, you got to work smart as well. That was another thing, because I was working really hard, was not working smart at all. And I'm slowly and slowly getting there, but it takes time, it takes patience, and it's hard. But what I really have seen is that I've really grown in this year, and I've become, very self-aware. of where the pitfalls of my company lie, where the pitfalls of myself lie, and how can I, get people that can fill in those gaps, and how can I get, people to appreciate the dream, vision, what I want to do, how I want to create it, and make it phenomenal, and that's what I hope you've gotten out of this. And that's what I think by reflecting and being completely honest and vulnerable, yeah, that's the most valuable thing. Because man, I jacked a lot of stuff up this year. I did a lot of things wrong. I could have done a lot of things better. But, you know, I learned and I pushed on. I pushed on as best as I could. Man, I just, well, this year was so hard, but it was definitely what I needed. The sort of, self-reliance that you need when you're in quarantine. And, also I got COVID. I can't believe I left that out. Yeah, I had coronavirus when I was literally I was going to like walk into businesses and talk to them, and then I couldn't do it. And that was like how I was getting clients, and that's how I was talking to people. Is I would just, like message people, and I would call people. I'd walk into stores and get business cards and call people, and you really just freaking pound the effing pavement. And that was literally it. And that was how I was like basically saying, hey, I'd love your permission to list our products on the platform. And man, it was a heck of a lot. Oh man, it was so hard. I can't, like, I really want to remember like this feeling when you have like, like you got like no sales for the most part. It's like I do not have enough sales to sustain the business. I'm not ramen noodle profitable, as they like to say in the game. But man, it was, no, I know there's going to be a time. I know there is, when I look back on that year of 2020, and I see that was a year of development. That was a year of maturity. That was a year of me finding myself and finding my voice of who I want to be, the man that I want to be, the leader that I want to be, the learner, the educator, the teacher, the CEO, the fitness person, the entrepreneur that I want to be, and that I want to have my identity as, of being a good, honest person, and being a good person to my employees, to my team, and to anyone, and that's what it's really given me an incredible amount of perspective on. And that I've really realized my weaknesses, and I've seen them, man, you try to put me in front of a computer for a couple of hours, man, I can't. It's really effing hard for me to sit in front of a screen. And it's really hard for me to, keep focus as well. And that's something that I've learned this year. Also, I went through, my mom, just a FYI, is a psychiatrist, and basically went through the diagnostic criteria for ADHD, and I found out I had it. And and it makes complete sense, of why I've always had trouble. I've always had, it's really weird, because I've always been able to control, um my ADHD for the most part. And I've been able to kind of have frameworks in place, exercising, doing these things. I kind of went, and I remember I was going through like how to like minimize the effects of ADHD, and I was like, holy crap, I did all these things subconsciously, because I knew myself. But yeah, we went through the thing, and I had ADHD, and that's something I gotta realize is that could be my freaking greatest weakness. When someone's pointing at me and saying that's why you're not going to be successful, because you can't bump out code like these other guys. You can't just zone in sell like these guys. You can't just zone in read like those other CEOs, right? But man, I can guarantee you, I can find ways to find people that can do those things, or I can teach myself. Like with reading, I've always been an okay reader. But man, I got so much better. I did this Tim Ferriss thing on speed reading, and I could bump through books in, like an hour. Like it was crazy. I could read like a 400-page book in an hour and comprehend it. And it's really weird because with my ADHD, it's either I'm hopping from like 9 different things like on my computer right now, right? I have Twitter open, Facebook open, Spotify open, Anchor open, YouTube open. Um, Canva open all at the same time. If that doesn't, give you like an outline of my psyche, I'm not sure what else will. But with all these different things and all these different weaknesses, this year has really been, that's the story for me in this, knowing myself and knowing how can I overcome challenges that are put in front of me and in front of my people and in front of my company. And that's really the story of Ocean. It's overcoming obstacles, finding creative ways of solving problems, doing the good thing, even if, there might be a short-term sacrifice, going above and beyond to that for that small business owner, that makes a big impact. That is why I'm never going to charge a business upfront for anything we serve, for anything we sell, ever. We're only going to basically, we're charging you if you're making sales. If you're on Ocean and you don't and you're not making sales, you're not paying anything. We're not going to do that because Amazon does that. Etsy does that. Every other conceivable platform has it set up that way. And I think that is bad. I think that is not good for business owners. I do not think that's good for America. I don't think that's good for people overall. And that's my biggest thing. You know, yeah, and it's like the only reason why we would charge for something is really we're only doing it for like extra stuff. Like if you want to basically get, the premium of the premium, the creme de la creme, in the words of Jack Harlow, then that's when you'd pay a monthly. Like that's for delivery, that's for accounting services, that's for social media consultations, that's for content creation, that's for being able to post your Facebook post across all the social media platforms, and that's the edge. That's the edge that I'm talking about. That's the edge I think in the company overall, and that's what I think the beauty lies in. How can Ocean Connection really help, a small business owner or an independent entrepreneur that's trying to hustle out of their house? Because also what I want to talk about is when I was starting Ocean, I think I kind of implied it. It didn't just say it explicitly. My goal was to create a product that I myself would buy every single element within it. If I personally do not think that something is bringing value to people, I'm not going to sell it. If I do not think this is net benefiting someone's life, I'm not going to sell it I'm not going to sell it. Like that's just something for me, and I just think more business owners need to do that because like, man, I think for all these tech CEOs that, promote all these different metrics of how can you stay on their thing for the longest amount of time. I want to make sure that I'm being honest. I'm being a good CEO. I genuinely want what's best for the business owners and everyone involved. My goal is to create win-win deals and create something that is really good and that I would want to do. And that's what I think the beauty of it is. And that's why I think the beauty of Ocean Connection lies. And it's not all about me. It's not just Jason Alexander's thing. It's not just, whatever I want, this idealistic, what I see the future of online retail is. It's like I wanted to create something that's able to shift and move. That's something that's able to, adapt and change the market economy. That's something that's going to help people, help small business owners, and that's my thing. It's like, I'm thinking when people are asking me, I remember in college, they were talking to me about who my target market is, and I said, that's a dumb question. They're like, well, Jason, why is that a dumb question? Well, when you talk about a target market, the only way to figure out who your target market is by making a really fucking good product, by making something that no matter who has it, they're getting value. And you're going to figure out who your target market is by who is actually using your product. You can't define it. Like that's the thing. What they wanted me to do is they wanted me to say, my target market is Steve, who is a white Caucasian 35 and over male from Northwest Colorado, Springs or whatever. They want me to put that customer into this box. And the thing is, what I see with entrepreneurship is it's something that I think is so beautiful, is that if you list a product online, people don't care if you're black, white, straight, gay, Asian, whatever. They don't care about any of that stuff. What they care about is your product good and is it the best? It's the best. It's this beautiful, equalizer. When you set up an online page, they don't care about, you can have a freaking racist person that if you make a really freaking good product, they're going to buy it. You can have someone that, disagrees with everything you do and you make a good product, they're going to be still putting money into your pocket. So then you can go fund the causes that you want to be a part of, like that's what's crazy, and I think it's just such this beautiful thing. And that we shouldn't, say like, I want freaking Sally, who's 13, selling lemonade, where she bottles it herself and then sells it on the internet. I want freaking little Sally to sell on Ocean Connection. But you know who else I want to sell on Ocean Connection? That 70-year-old grandma that knits scarves herself, and does all this stuff and just tries and works every single day to just make this little dream of hers. Like when she's looking back on her life, she's like, man, I always wish I could start that scarf business, but I don't have enough money to start a business. That's who I freaking want on Ocean Connection. I want everyone. I want to create an ecosystem of all these small businesses and these different people that is able to create something that's really, really good. And people with different opinions, people with different, like different political ideologies, different leanings, whether it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or, freaking Tea Party, it doesn't matter. What matters is if you're bringing value to your customers and if you're doing products that are legitimately bringing value to who is purchasing them, and you're winning and you're doing something that is bringing you fulfillment and bringing you joy. That's what's important. As much as I'd love to be like, I need to regulate, I need to do these things, that's not my opinion. That's not at my liberty to say, what is this? I can have general outlines. I can say I'm not going to, do anything illegal on here. I don't want to, sell anything. I don't want to sell drugs. I don't want to be like the cocaine dealer of the internet. It's not my game plan, but in terms of, creating a platform, my goal is to create this thing that's the self-sustaining ecosystem that will balance itself out. Because I think the business landscape is like a freaking African jungle, or literally an ocean, pun intended. It's an ocean of all these different, like, big fish, small fish, red fish, blue fish. There's all these different fish that are swimming around, eating each other, doing all this stuff. But the ocean's growing. I think it's going to get bigger over time, and that's why I wanted to insert myself, and that's why I dropped out of college. It's because I wanted to insert myself at the beginning of a market instead of at the end. Like I freaking think that, like, there's going to be so many jobs lost, and freaking COVID made me look like a genius. That's another thing I forgot to talk about. Like I started basically thinking about local deliveries freaking back in, when I was in last semester. So, fall of 2019, I was thinking about, like, we need to get local delivery for small businesses. And I was on that wavelength early. Um, you know, but then this COVID thing happened and you have limited capacity in stores. It makes me really look like a smart person when I'm pitching, even though there's a couple of things that I'm good at, but I'm not good at a whole lot of things. But one of those things that I'm really good at is, really kind of seeing the big picture. And that's why I think I'm a really good CEO. That's why I would suck at almost every other job in my company. But I'm a really good CEO because I can see those things that are out there. And, we got to realize, and when we create this, and when I want to create this, and how I want to bring value is I want to get to the point where people are not asked like their demographics of who they are. They're asked, what do they care about? What's the content of their business and what their strategy and what are they trying to do? That's what's important. Not where they grew up, what their background is, what are they trying to do and how are they trying to bring value? And I want to highlight people that do that with Ocean Connection. And hey, if you think that you're one of those people, shoot me a text message, shoot me a DM. I respond on freaking anything. And I'm gonna upload this podcast probably tonight, and I get it. But also, right now it's 1 a.m. And man, I'm freaking fired up. I'm gonna go get some work done. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of Ocean and the story of pretty much 2020 for me. It's been this really crazy year, and I know that. Hey, I just want to say right now, I'm calling it. You better okay? You know what? I'm gonna say it. You better fucking watch out for Ocean Connection coming in 2021. We're here to kick ass and take names. We're here to freaking scale your business. I genuinely think that any business that comes on Ocean Connection, in early 2021, by the end of the year, is going to be the single best decision you have ever made. Period. So there it is, man. That's the little Ocean story. That's the story, me and the company and everything. So I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you again for listening to Jason Across the Nation. I'm gonna get some guests on here soon. My goal is just to keep, making these podcasts, making these things. I think you guys definitely should hear my dad and me talk soon. Because I think you'd love to hear his perspective on me dropping out of college and everything. But yeah, I appreciate thank you guys so much for listening. I know that um, it might be weird, seeing me and doing all this stuff, and I appreciate it for everyone that supported me, like especially right now when things, don't look super, great, to be candid, and that's that's it. And I'm very grateful that there's people that are, still like those freaking 15 people that are liking my Instagram posts. Trust me, I remember your guys' names, so when Ocean Connection's going and killing it, I know who's getting some free shares. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank everyone so much. I appreciate you guys for listening. I hope everyone, has a great night, and going into 2021, let's make sure that, we stay safe and you go and chase that thing, because we realize that our time here is short and it's limited, and we just got to go chase shit. Thank you guys so much for listening to Jason Across the Nation. I'm your host, Jason. I hope everyone's having a good one. Thank you.